Mike, Matt, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to get to come on and talk to you about revenue operations, something that I'm passionate about and bringing into the small business world. So a little bit about me. I have a long history in technology, operations, sales, marketing, and right now I'm trying to bring it all together and deliver something that is actually beneficial to small businesses and helping them scale and grow, just like larger businesses can with technology, process, and people, right? So revenue operations, depending on the business or vertical, can kind of take on some different forms, but really at its core, it's the alignment or realignment of all of the internal teams and client-facing teams with the unified goal of increasing revenue or improving revenue, and then consequently reducing internal company friction. Typically most companies employ specific operational professionals to service a department or silo within that business. So for example, sales, marketing, technology, customer success, even sometimes finance falls under revenue operations. But these teams are typically siloed and they don't work together cohesively. But when we unify these teams, now we're not just servicing the individual team's goals, we're focused on serving the customer. So when because a lot of times what happens is the technology is misaligned, they're all using different systems and platforms, and it creates a lot of disconnection in the data being used to see the customer. And so the customer is viewed internally very disjointed. And then what we get out of is these teams are now able to collaborate on a cross-functional level, allowing them to bridge the gaps in some of these departments where friction usually infrequently festers. So, the biggest one that we hear all the time is sales and marketing. Whose lead is it? Who gets credit for the lead, right? Sales, marketing, revenue operations takes a lot of these things out of the equation and aligns everyone under the same umbrella. But really a change in mindset to a more collaborative approach between these teams seems like a daunting task to business leaders, is why they haven't adopted it yet, or they don't even know about it yet. So revenue operations really isn't just, the name of a team. It's more of a philosophy by which to run a company, one that thrives when all of the teams are equipped with the right tools.
So how do you get the technology right? I mean, what's the implementation strategy to combine the technology and the workflow and the automation into this more unified sort of system?
Yeah, great question, Matt. So I've had the pleasure of working for quite a few technology companies over the years for the last 2 decades, a lot in the managed service provider space, software, implementation, value-added reseller. I've been able to see technology from a very 100,000-foot view, and also down in the trenches implementing these systems and processes. So over the course of the years, what I've realized is, one of the key factors is user adoption in implementing any new technology into a business process. And this is where a lot of companies fail, is not understanding the users and how they use these systems, or how they need to use these systems, and how it actually aligns with their operational objectives and goals. So there's a lot of times where you see users work outside of these systems to be able to do the job that they have, because the system isn't either implemented correctly, solutioned correctly, or it just doesn't work how it's supposed to. They were sold a bill of goods from a software company. So how do I get it right? It's by really analyzing user behaviors within the organization. So it takes a little bit more time. It's not just like an IT service where they're going to come in, listen to your symptoms and prescribe you a pill to fix your problems. So it's really listening to the users, listening to what the goals and objectives of these businesses are, and selecting the right software. And sometimes you have to replace it. Sometimes, the first pick isn't always the right pick. So it's usually typically 3 to 6 month engagement to really figure out what this business needs as far as the proper technology. I hope I answered your question, Matt. It was a little long-winded there.
No, no problem. It was a complicated question.
So why is it important, Ernie, to define a customer journey and define a customer lifetime value?
Good question, Matt. Mike, sorry.
We look so much alike, people confuse us for twins.
Right.
You know, so.
It's the hair. It's the hair. I get
Yeah,
it.
that's it. So
Yeah, right. Okay. Or lack thereof.
Right. Well, a customer journey is sometimes a complicated thing and sometimes it's a simple thing, but really, customers want to be cared for, whether it's a B2C or B2B type of environment. All of your customers want to be cared for, whether they pick up the phone to call you, open a marketing email, or get a personalized message on social media. Operations teams typically carry the responsibility of ensuring that everything within a business works, from segmenting contact list and managing customer data to making sure automated emails don't misfire. They're really the people who set every customer-facing team up for success to ensure every customer has consistent and a well-executed experience that still wows them during the whole process. These are the orchestrators. Your ops teams are really the orchestrators of the customer experience. And yet, the challenge is most businesses don't view operations as a proactive, but as a reactive function, whose sole purpose is to frantically and frequently, running around putting out fires. These are the guys that put out your fires. But used in a more efficient and effective way, they can be the guys who strategically align your operations so there's less fires, there's less frantic, middle of the night phone calls that some system is down and isn't functioning or working. So defining the customer journey that aligns with your business goals and objectives, and then building technology ecosystem that supports that. Implementing the technology and automation in that is a little more complicated as you go along, and everything always needs to be adjusted and tweaked.
All right. You also asked us to ask you about something called OKRs. So being an aficionado of acronyms, what is an OKR and what does it mean to a small business?
Okay. So, we could do a whole segment on OKRs. There's a lot to talk about there, but OKRs stand for objectives and key results. Very large organizations, Google, Facebook, implement OKRs. It's a very simple framework, but it's very effective. The principles and methods used to achieve a successful results and robust revenue operations model are based on setting realistic objectives and measurable goals. That's where the OKR framework pairs very nicely, because the objectives you want to achieve with the key results you use to measure the progress is really tied to your team's day-to-day. So is it important to work on, or is it not important to work on? Does it align with your personal OKRs, your team's OKRs, or the company's OKRs? It's really just a simple framework to keep everyone moving in the same unified direction. That's why revenue operations really benefits from the implementation of OKRs company-wide.
Interesting. You also, I know, because we discussed this, are forming a team of folks to do fractional kinds of work. Let's talk a little bit about that briefly before we end the segment.
Sure. The fractional services space for small businesses is really growing. You see fractional CMOs, fractional CIOs, fractional CTOs, fractional CFOs, and really where there's some a great opportunity is also in the operations space or revenue operations space. Right now, I'm focused on building a network of individuals who provide these services. For example, I'll throw out a couple names. Dark Horse CPAs, they're providing fractional CFO services. I'm partnered with a CF service and another CFO service. So the alignment of being able to kind of bring this, we'll call it the team of Avengers together, very smart people providing services on a fractional level that make it cost effective and affordable for small businesses, where they still get that team of C-suite type of executives, helping them build their strategies and execute upon them, but they get it for a fraction of the cost. But they still get the benefit of having these high-level executives as a part of their team.